Alright, testing one. Desktop audio is not working. Is it the top one or the bottom one? Do you remember?
This is the audio input. You won't need this
Okay,
because that's
so we're
just
good.
that would be if there was volume coming from the computer that it
Gotcha.
needs to record. So like if I was playing a game and I wanted the audio from it, that would be what that is. Because OBS is a streaming platform for like predominantly game things
Sweet.
as well. So
I think most YouTubers use OBS.
yeah, most YouTubers do. It's just a good program.
Hello? Sweet. Can everyone hear me? Can I get a thumbs up from like people all the way in the back? Sweet. So, just really quickly, we ran the session we finished it a couple weeks ago. One of the main complaints was the audio. This mic's a little finicky, so the people in the back can kind of raise their hands or just wave at me anytime throughout these next 5 weeks if the mic starts to cut out or I just sound bad. I can only talk so loud without the mic, so I kind of needed to reach everyone all the way in the back. So if at any time you guys can't hear me, please just make some sort of gesture to get my attention. But I think this is good enough. I hope it's not too loud. But welcome. So I hope you're all in the right place. This is the CAD/3D printing milestones course. We're all here really excited to help teach this to you guys. Myself, along with these two fine gentlemen up here, we are a part of ASME. It is a mechanical engineering organization here at Purdue. One of the main things that we focus on is design teams. So we have lots of teams that focus on building stuff. And obviously to build stuff, you need CAD experience. So whenever we started to develop this organization, one of the issues that we saw was that not a lot of people had CAD experience. So that's how we kind of began to make this chapter of our organization. We've now partnered with Milestones to kind of branch out and collaborate and reach a lot more people. So if at any time you really feel like this clicks and you want to start applying it to something, right? Fusion or CAD in general is just a skill. You can learn it, and if you really enjoy it, right, you want to try to apply it to stuff. So if you're interested in possibly, joining a design team or maybe doing something with the CAD that you're going to learn here, you're more than welcome to come and talk to us. A little bit of a shameless plug, but why not? So again, welcome. This is the CAD/3D milestones course. Okay, so exactly what is Milestones, right? Milestones is going to be a separate from school class. We're going to have 5 weeks, 5 classes, 2 hours, the same time every week for the next 5 weeks. And we're going to be teaching you a skill, not a skill that you really can't take through one of your 3 or 4 credit classes. I know we have CGT, but this is a shorter way of teaching you a CAD package, and it's Fusion 360. That's something that Purdue doesn't actually offer. So the reason that you're here is obviously to learn a skill through our workshop. We're going to hopefully get you from the beginner to maybe end of intermediate or beginning of advanced level. We're going to try to teach you as much as we can in our short 5 weeks. It's only 10 hours, unfortunately, of instruction time, so we're going to try to do as much as we can. Today, maybe a little boring. We're going to have to go through a little bit of the syllabus work. We'll try to go through as quickly as possible, but just to give you a heads up what's going on today. Also, so as per the certificate, at the end of every week, we're going to have a couple assignments. How it's going to work is you're going to be making models on Fusion, and you're going to be taking screenshots of them. Do not upload the files, right? There are 85 of you guys. If there's 3 assignments, that's over 240 files that I have to download on my computer. It's just not good. So you guys are going to be doing assignments, screenshotting them, sending them in. The assignments are either yay or nay. So I'd highly recommend that you give the assignments, the best of your ability effort, because, you want to really ensure that you get the credit for that assignment. There's some more notes about that. I had an email sent out about 4 minutes ago that pretty much summarizes the whole week. There is an attendance link on there, so if you guys can open that up. Everyone who is here in person, we would like for you to fill out the attendance form. Attendance isn't required for the class. I will tell you, you are going to struggle if you don't show up into the classes. Obviously, you guys are all here, so that's a good start. But if you have to skip a week or 2 because of exams, other commitments, overall just mental health, you're more than welcome to skip. This attendance sheet, right, it's not to get you in trouble that you're not showing up to class. It's just to make sure that it's for us to keep a record of how our attendance is going throughout the 5 weeks. Along with that email is the big form for you to submit your assignments. As of now, you can't really do much with it because we haven't taught you anything yet. And there's also a Slack in there. We realized from our last session that we wanted a more uniform way to communicate with you guys, right? Just a big spam of emails kind of get a bit cluttered for us. So we have a Slack. If you have any questions about the class, any questions about the assignments, any questions just pertaining to CAD/3D printing, right? There's myself and a couple of the other leads from ASME. Shoot your questions in there and we'll answer them as quickly as possible. So that's going to be our main form of communication. Obviously, you guys have my email. I'm the one that sent out the email letting you know you were registered a couple days ago, and obviously the email that was just sent out 4 minutes ago. But please use Slack as the first way of communication. But if you have to, you can obviously use email. So about the whole assignment thing, right, you need to get a passing score. There's going to be about 15 to 17 assignments. So long as you get about 12, 13 passes, right, that pertains above a 70, you pass the class. This third bullet point, upon successful passing of the class, you're going to get emailed a digital certificate after finals. So maybe mid to late January, digital certificate. And that is the official say that you passed the class. Unfortunately, the actual certificate part is kind of out of our domain, so we can't control the speed of it, but we can definitely tell you if you got it or not. So if you have any questions, you can direct them to us about that, but it may take us a while to get back to you as we kind of have to shoot it up our higher chain. Okay, so what are our goals for the 5 weeks? Our goals are to teach you CAD, right? For this case, we chose Fusion 360, and our goal is to teach you CAD empirically, right? CAD is kind of like a skill. It's like riding a bike. You get good at it through practice, which is once again why I highly advise that you show up to all 5 meetings. And the thing about it is that there's multiple ways to do it, right? Like there's probably multiple ways to ride a bike, but there's really only one way that's kind of best. So to understand the importance of CAD empirically, we want to teach you the thought process and kind of the way that you should be thinking, right? That's the most critical part of learning CAD is the actual thought process and critical thinking behind it. Because you can just start throwing lines and shapes together on your screen, but you'll start coming across errors as you start building up more complicated, more tremendous projects. It's kind of boring to learn the fundamentals. I'm not too sure if any of you are in CGT 163 or have ever taken any CAD class of some sort, but they always start off so slow. And it's really important for that matter because you need to understand the fundamentals, because as you begin to start building up big models, it's really important to understand the fundamentals so that you can properly fall back to something. What else? We're going to be teaching you rendering. So there's a built-in function in Fusion that allows you to render models. So you can think of kind of graphic design. So it's a built-in graphic design function within Fusion. I'll get a little bit more into that with the final project that we're going to talk about. And then we're going to be looking on 3D printing projects, right? That's the other half of the Milestone course. We're going to be doing a final project that's going to be consisting of modeling a part, rendering it, right? So you're going to make a nice graphical image of it. You're going to render it through Fusion. It's going to be given a nice texture and appearance to it. And then we're going to be actually 3D printing it. So that's going to be your like week 5, graduation type of project for this course. Okay, so these dates are a little bit outdated. Again, this is from our last session. We just finished it about 2 weeks ago. Went pretty well. So we have 5 modules. This first one's going to be very introductory. I hope not to talk for another more 30 minutes about kind of the syllabus type stuff. We're going to get into downloading Fusion, and we're going to be making some very rudimentary parts. Next week, we'll be making a little bit more complicated stuff. The third week takes a pretty big jump. We'll be designing some, I believe, previous projects. So we picked out 3 previous projects that showcased some really good kind of abstract skills. So we're gonna be replicating those projects to show you those skills. 4th week, we'll be starting the personal projects. Trust me, 4 weeks is more than enough time to learn Fusion. You'll be surprised how quickly you can pick it up. And then the 5th one is gonna be actually 3D printing your parts. Okay, so there you go. That's the final project right there. I know I already mentioned it a couple slides back, but you're going to be making a model all the way from scratch. You're going to prepare the model for 3D printing. Here are a couple things that it cannot be. Week 3, like I said, we chose 3 projects that we felt were really exemplary, that showcased really unique skill sets. So unfortunately, we can't let you duplicate the stuff that we're giving you assignments of. So there's 3 pretty niche things that you're not allowed to do. You can't do the Purdue Arch, can't do the engineering fountain, and you can't make a plane. Again, another weird, but you'll see in a couple weeks when we start making them. It's just not fair if everyone just copies them. Here are some examples from this last course. We had a restriction on making something from Purdue. So you can see the Boilermaker Express, you can see the clock tower, and then you can see a spaceship. We decided to uplift that constraint, right? We felt like we wanted to give more creative freedom. So the end of the year project is no longer going to be constrained to making something from Purdue. We're encouraging you to just make anything that you feel is interesting or that you're interested in working in. We have a couple guidelines, right? If you feel like too much creative freedom might be a little bit stressful, you don't know where to start. We made a couple bullet points of things that we've seen lots of people do before in the past to hopefully kind of guide you in the right direction. This will be in about a couple weeks, so there's no need to worry about it. We'll get there when we get there. So that was the pretty quick syllabus of this class. It's about 10 minutes. So now we're going to get into the actual CAD/3D printing. And before I do that, I actually want to introduce myself. I just realized I never did that. So my name is Oscar Morales. I am a sophomore here at Purdue. I am in ME and also a part of ASME here at Purdue. I've been doing CAD since about my sophomore year of high school. So that's going on about 5, maybe 5.5 years. I've learned SolidWorks. I've learned Fusion. I've been doing Fusion for about 3.5 years. And then as of now, I'm taking 163 to learn NX. So that's about 3 languages. I'm super, super passionate about this stuff. There's really nothing that I like more about engineering than CAD. So when I saw this position open up to come and instruct this course alongside with a lot of the other TAs, I felt like I had to take advantage of it. I have 2 more people up here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves because they may be popping in and out.
Hi everyone, my name is Jordan. I have been doing CAD as well since sophomore year of high school. I actually was one of the people that ended up starting the snowball effect that led to us doing the milestone training now. So it's crazy to see just how much this CAD training stuff has grown since I was like teaching 5 people in like a little computer lab in a different building. So yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Pranav. I am ASME's internal vice president, so I oversee all of our design teams. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions about the rest of them. This Milestones course is really new. It started up this semester, and we had some really great results as you guys saw from last semester, so I'm really excited to see what you guys do.
Oops, my bad. Okay, so what exactly is CAD, right? CAD is an acronym for Computer-Aided Design. CAD allows you to model 2D, but more importantly, 3D in a space on your computer, right? So before CAD was a thing, there used to be drawing boards, and so you'd have to draw your pieces out isometrically, so top view, front view, right view. And around the turn of the century, people began to realize, how do we integrate the complexity and analytics of the computer with the creativity and abstractness of the human mind? So I'll talk about this a little bit later, but software is starting to become developed to allow you to model stuff in a computer so you can use the processing power of the computer and also allow you to use the 3D component of a computer because you can code software to do that for you. So it's a tool that has been invented to help aid us in the assistance of creating parts for engineering or for anything of sort of that matter. You can make individual components. So if you wanted to make a key on your keyboard, you can do that. If you wanted to make the whole keyboard, you could do that, right? CAD allows you to make individual parts and then allows you to relate them together in a big assembly to make bigger, more masterful parts. So here's a little bit about the history of the CAD. As I mentioned, it started off as a thesis from a MIT graduate student. He had that exact idea of how do we integrate computers with mankind to create some sort of design application to help us create things. And it started off a little rough, right? It was a little pen with light and a screen about the size of, I don't know, like maybe 6 inches by 6 inches, very small screen, and that was the very fundamental of CAD. It started off, like I said, slow, but it slowly snowballed more and more. you started to see companies kind of seeing promise in this idea, and they started creating their own softwares. If you notice now, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of different of CAD softwares, and that's because as time has gone on, people have developed more programs to specialize in different areas. In the same way that it works for coding, where you may want to use a different type of language to assist you in a special different type of area, you can do the same thing with CAD. So that's how we've seen it develop a lot. I think here's a video of that first ever prototype made in 1959 by that MIT man. As you can see, very rudimentary. That pen is basically just like a laser, and it shines into your screen to allow you to draw simple lines, arcs, very fundamental. All the stuff that this computer can do, we're basically about to cover in 30 to 45 minutes today, because it was just that fundamental, but it really set the basis for what we've been able to do today. So what does CAD allow you to do? So a cool thing is I think, unfortunately, this opportunity isn't open to you guys. Right now, simultaneously, Milestones is running an FEA class. So the first and second bullet point, right? Finite element analysis and simulation and presentation of kinematics. That kind of runs together in the same thing. So what FEA allows you to do is it allows you to process the physics of really complex parts on your computer. So you can see this type of like piston shape on the screen, and it's a heat map. So you can say, all right, I know this part is going to go in X place in an airplane. I know there are going to be forces applied here and here in such direction at such magnitude. How is the stress going to apply onto the part? So you can probably do this with pen and paper, doing free body diagrams and doing it all by yourself. But as you get more complicated with parts, obviously it's going to be a lot more intricate. So a cool thing that you'll see with a lot of industry is stress analysis, and that is FEA. It allows you to test the rigidity of your parts, see if stuff needs to be removed or added, and that kind of allows for a lot of the optimization that we see today in the automotive or aviation industries. Another cool thing is the manufacturing aspect of CAD. So this allows you to make layouts of parts, both two-dimensionally and three-dimensionally, right? So if you design something on your computer, how does it go from your computer to being made? You take it to a machine shop, but then what? What do they do with it? CAD allows you to make these 3D print / blueprints that you can hand over with all the dimensions that basically kind of accumulate all the work that you did on your computer. So this two-dimensional layout / three-dimensional layout is kind of like an output from Fusion or any CAD software to a real-life person that allows them to manufacture your stuff and put it out into the real world. So again, there's tons of softwares now. The one that we're using is Fusion 360. We like it a lot because it's very self-explanatory. Having learned SolidWorks and NX now, I can tell you this is definitely the most user-friendly. Those two have higher ceilings, right? They allow you to do more, but that's only really for an industry level. For anything kind of recreational or personal, Fusion is the perfect sweet spot of allowing you to do all the functionality of the others while being simultaneously very easy to learn. And that's why we've chosen to use it. Also, it is cloud-based, so no matter how slow or old your laptop is, you're streaming all that processing power from the cloud. So even if you have like a 4 or 5 year old computer, you can run it seamlessly as somebody who has like a 2-month-old Mac because it pulls it off from the cloud. I do want to mention now, I think one of the next slides is going to be downloading Fusion 360. I made this note before everyone made it in. So if you brought your personal laptop, that's perfect. That kind of is the recommended way to do this because you can take all the stuff home. If you're choosing to use these desktops here at Purdue, I'm going to give you a big warning. Every time you log out, the system does a reset, and everything on your computer gets wiped. So you can come here and CAD stuff on the Purdue computers. It'll save to the cloud, but then whenever you come back for week 2, Fusion's gone. So you're going to have to reinstall it. But like I said, we're about to get into installing Fusion 360. You'll see it is very, very annoying because it has to be done in a very specific way. There's like 20 different links that take you all to the same Fusion download, but there are some that are just definitely a lot better than others. So again, you can use the desktop here in front of you. I would just highly recommend using your laptop if that is an option, but if it's not, it'll definitely suffice. It's just going to be a little annoying to have to work around. Okay, so now we're going to get into downloading Fusion 360. So I'm sending a message right now into the Slack under General. Like I said, there's like 20 different links all under the same Autodesk website to download Fusion. This link that I set is the least problematic and just most streamlined way to do it. So if you're not in the Slack, there was an email sent out 20 minutes ago with a link to it. Please join it. If you are, under General is a message by me. Use that link to go to Autodesk and download Fusion 360. Like I said, it's very problematic. We're going to have the TAs walk around and help you out. Pretty much what you need to know is, and I'll actually do it here with you right now. So we're going to go, that link is going to take you to this right here. Fusion 360 student download. Okay, so it should take you to this screen right here. Obviously, we're downloading Fusion 360, so you're going to want to click Get Started right underneath Fusion 360. All right, so none of you should have an account, but if you do, that's great. Is this like a big, major pressing question?
You can have them come up and email them to their emails.
I had all 89 mailing lists. Yeah, okay. I should have gotten everyone in the mailing list, but if not, please come up to me afterwards. I'll get your email written down. Just type Fusion 360 student download. It should be the second or third link that looks exactly like this one. But they have to do it on their computers. They don't have one to scan it off. You can send it in Slack.
He did.
Can you go out and help him?
Yeah. Who needs help?
Yeah.
I asked.
I got all the names off the mailing list. I don't know. I forgot like a good 10 or 12 or something. It's okay. I don't know. Presley just don't know how they open the list. Okay, I'm gonna walk to the back to help those people out. But if you do want to go forward, it's not that complicated. The only thing I'm gonna tell you is do use your Purdue email. This is a very expensive software. However, if you use a school account, you get to override it as an educational account, so it's totally free. So do not use your personal email. Only use your Purdue email. That's going to give you free access for the next 4 years. Some of you may get unlucky. It's pretty sporadic. Some people are going to get a big pop-up block from Fusion saying, we need you to verify your legitimacy as a student. Like I said, it's very random. It's only going to happen to about 25% of you. So if that happens, just take a picture of your ID and submit it. I'm going to go out and help everyone. Yeah. It only happens like 1 out of 10 people. It's really annoying. Yeah, Oscar.
I gotta head out.
No, you're
Set.
Hold on. Right. Also, I want to say if you have any downtime, I'd highly recommend, finding homework or something to do. This class, especially, is gonna have a lot of downtime. Does not bother me. I'm a student just as well as you guys. So if you have downtime, you're more than welcome to find a productive way to use it. Yeah. Okay. Just because I saw like two people get through it really quickly, so you're gonna click on this get started button right here. Right. That's the button you want to click. If you create your new account and it, for whatever reason, it allows you to get through it really quickly, it's going to take you back to this main page. This time, you're going to push Get Started. You're going to sign in, and it's going to start to download. There's a lot of us in here, and it's a pretty big package, so it may take about 5 to 7 minutes for each of us. So if you get past that step, that's what's next. Just keep kind of going on forward intuitively with the download page until you have Fusion opened up. You can kind of start to begin messing around with it a little bit, but just keep on going forward until you get to Fusion opened up on your screen. If you have any questions, raise your hand. We'll come over. But like I said, as soon as you sign in, you push that button again, sign in with the account that you just made, and then push download.
Do you want to mention the thing about taking a picture of your ID?
I already did. I told them it's like literally unlucky. It's just unlucky. I've made an account with my personal high school account and my college one, and I've never had it happen.
I had it happen once. I think it's just random. So.
No, it is random. It's just unlucky. It's only gonna happen like a few. Yeah. Yes. No, it's going to be do you have a different browser? Try looking at a different browser. No, you'll get a page that just specifically says upload an image.
Yes. Yes. Once you're at the screen, it's just going to take a little bit to download. Okay. At the end, I think he's going to take like everyone's emails and so if the assignments like each week, just so like get me credit for it. So like the first week or two is going to be like if you've been using it for 5 years, and then once you get to the personal project, it's like free reign, whatever you do. But like at the same time, there's nothing stopping you from doing the personal project like you're doing kind of stuff like here. So let's say you like see that we're doing stuff, you know how it works. You work on that, like you work on homework or other things. It's really up to you. The assignments will also be posted in the email list.
That was one mistake. You have the
Format.
that whole
So
browser.
you just can follow the steps.
Yeah, you found it. You push upload. That's what I did too.
And we're also recording, so we'll have videos. What we do. So you can
Yeah, there you go. You can just take a picture of your phone and then upload it there. They're pretty quick. They get it in like a minute or two.
Oh, we've only been here for half an
Huh?
hour. We've only been here for half an
I know. I've ripped through the instructional. There's no point.
Yeah.
Now that I know that we can control it, like,
hour. I think it'll be good then to just wait until everyone here has Fusion ready, and then you can get started because it'll be way too much.
I think encourage people to just do homework was a good idea.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
we're about to spend like 20 minutes just sitting here doing nothing. I just downloads. Nothing is it's good bandwidth down here. Yeah. This is new. I mean, we're not affiliated with the classroom. There are
Uh, if you want, you can go to the back, and there are outlets there, but they're only along the back wall.
If that one doesn't work, then yeah, maybe go to the back. Yeah. Oh no no no. Okay, so I walked around and I noticed about most of you are downloading it. So the issue is that we have 70 people downloading this at once. We kind of have to have you kind of download it with us because it's so problematic. This is the best way that we've been able to find to do it. So I'm just letting you know, you guys probably have about 15 minutes to kind of go use the restroom or do homework because there's a lot of people downloading this pretty big software. So it's going to take a while for a good chunk of you. So there's just like a bit of an unofficial break right now if you want to take it to do something else. I should talk to Ron before he left about the survey. If anyone pulled it out for new leads. So Jordan can't come here every time.
Oh, did you leave?
Yeah, for not having to go to some other meeting for assessment. Yes. Did you get the email? I don't know how many people. Yeah, just come talk to me after the end. You get the email. Okay. Okay. One last thing. So, if you guys are one of the ones who did not get the original email or any of my emails, you please come up to the front right now. I'm going to add you to the mailing list. How many people did I miss? Okay, one sec. I'm just going to have you guys type in your emails.
Look up also and then list to make sure that they are not or are in there.
Yeah. You guys are all like 100% sure there was no email, right? All right, I'm just going to trust y'all.
That's like 10%.
That's pretty bad. All
It's
right,
at 90.
this is the mailing list. Just type your email in there.
Can we get a single file line and join that way?
Yeah, so I'll just resend the email out. That's a lot of people. Whatever. It just makes me question the registration, that's all.
Yeah.
So I pulled all of these names from Alejandro's self-excel sheet.
Do you want to check that after?
Just gonna trust.
Well, no, that they're in the course. Because if they're not registered in the course, then they're just here.
That would not want to get here. Dude, I did not like that class. This is so frustrating. You think you're during COVID? Did you have any college years during COVID? Was your freshman year during COVID? So you were locked up in like hair centers for you? I mean, you.
I don't know anything about that one. We're like trying to teach myself over winter break, right? There are plenty of online things that say.
It's also it's stupid that they charge so much for it. Because now they're forcing
MATLAB?
companies. Yes, not Purdue. The MathWorks. It's archaic. Work. I clicked on it. Yeah.
Yep, you're good. It just adds it alphabetically.
As long as it's what like assignments.
What's up, Jordan?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fine. Do you have Fusion already? I can help you with it then. Mhm. Set items.
So I had someone else have this problem. The reason they had it is because they put they accidentally put high school for it. And the way I found it is when I did it, yeah. So I'm not saying
Okay, so real quick, show of hands, who still does not have Fusion downloaded? I'm expecting about to get third right now. Okay. Is there anybody who isn't like waiting for download, like they're having some sort of issue? Anyone who has like a critical pressing issue? Awesome. All right.
scroll down. It's just at the bottom.
Okay, so yeah, catch up to speed. You really just missed the syllabus. Did you get the original? Did you get my email that I sent out? Okay, so that's that email. Are you in the Slack? Alright, so open up the Slack. Making sure that you're good for the Slack.
Yep. And then continue.
So I just sent out a link. Hopefully, no, it's fine. There's a link at the bottom of this email. I'll stay here. It's really annoying. Downloading Fusion, it's very easy to mess up.
Downloading. Oh, wait. Getting out of the Slack.
Yeah, I just gonna. I'm catching up. So, in general, you can message from me. It has a link down there. There's multiple links. This link. Oh, right there. On the top. Okay, I think you have it under a different email. Because if you have it under the same email, there should be one that says change workplaces. And you can tap it. Go to that one. And then at the top is the button that says 360. Scroll down a little bit. Scroll down like that.
Me when I need to get Fusion 360 on my laptop.
Create an account.
uh,
So that's the thing is that you need to use it. Just fill in your basic information. It's not that critical so long as you use that link and you use it for your email. Yes, I think asking for two is like institution, educational.
here, if you want, I can help with him
Okay.
real quick.
There's still a lot of people downloading, so.
Yeah, you might have to scroll down. It's like at the bottom. Even though it's probably the one most people select. Assuming nothing for the first. Nah, wait till the last possible moment to do it. And then still somehow have something. Yeah, so you get confirmed at the bottom there. Yeah, software. Get a product. Yeah, you get all of it. Everything that's on this page that you can get. When you're not a student anymore. So basically, you're always a student. I don't know if it actually works. Well, I'll find out after college. I would like to not spend thousands of dollars on an app.
That'd be so clutch. Just keep using it until they just say you're not a part of it.
Yeah.
Our IDs carry to like, I don't know, I think they make it like 7 years.
Not sure. It's a decent amount of time. Because they're out of the way, so it doesn't look as ugly. But then all of them get ripped up because everyone needs to use the ports in the most inconvenient spot possible, which makes it look more ugly.
Yeah, so there's a wave of people whose bandwidth is super low and they're all like at 15%, and then there's another wave where they're all like 95 right now.
I would say you can start, just go really slow and do basic things and don't do like.
And if you're recording, if you want to.
Yeah, no, it's recording.
It's recording.
Then just mention that so that no one panics.
Yeah. And then you could just like say anything right now that you miss is like not critical, like for you to do in the program. It's just to show the features off.
So we're gonna take 3 more minutes. I looked around. It looks like a good wave of people are like 95, 97%. There are a few of you that I saw that are stuck at like 14, 20%. All right. Unfortunately, we can't just like sit around and wait an hour. That might just be an issue with your computer. We can take a look at later. But we are recording the session. Like I said, we understand not everyone's going to be able to have perfect attendance. So the session is being recorded, so you can watch this later to kind of catch up with something you missed. Today is going to be a very fundamental kind of run through of Fusion. So like, if you can just sit there and watch the screen up here, you can probably replicate it later in your apartment or dorm room. It should not be very complicated at all. But we're going to give it another 2 minutes. We're going to start at 6:20 with the demo. I want to make it. I want to make a preface of making this.
That's how to do the controls pre-lab navigate.
Is it hard?
It's not hard. He just is getting dumb errors because he doesn't understand what I keep telling him open the project VI first, which is like the one with all the drop downs. He cannot figure out what that is.
Oh. Okay, to be fair, I do forget every week, and then I figured it out.
Yeah. I think it's his first time having the issue, so I don't mind. But
It's like find devices or something.
yeah, he just doesn't know where any of it is. So.
Probably good to start doing the basics.
Okay, so we're gonna get a little bit into the basis. So if you already looked at the assignment form, there's 3 really quick things. The first one is gonna be making little building blocks that you see like children play with. So this is gonna be our fundamentals of making squares, rectangles, cylinders. Our next one is gonna be making a hammer, and then our third one is going to be making a pen, right? So nothing really complicated. We're just kind of showing you the layout of where all the tools are and what the tools do. Fusion and CAD in general is just very intuitive, right? As you see stuff and as you hear stuff explained, you'll kind of be able to understand it. Especially with you guys being this well educated, should be very, very straightforward. So we're gonna open up Fusion again. If you're not ready, this is being uploaded later, so you can follow along. What I would highly recommend first is in the top left of your screen, right, there's this little button with 9 boxes, right? It's this button right up here. It says Show Data Panel. Open it up and click on New Project and name it something like CAD Training or Milestones or, something along the lines of that. That's where you're going to be stashing all of your weeks' worth. So that way, if you want to go back and pull stuff up later, you know where it's stored. So for me, I've already had one. It's named CAD Training, and you'll see this is where I have all my stuff kind of saved. It works similar to your File Explorer. So if you want to make subfolders for each week or subfolders for other stuff, right, like this subfolder right here, this is all of today's assignments. So this is important, right, for file management. So as we go down the line, you're able to pull up and grab stuff. So something I'm going to recommend, if you haven't done it already, using the trackpad is horrible. It's almost impossible to try to use a trackpad on a CAD software. If you have a wired mouse or a wireless mouse, highly recommend getting one or bringing one, as it just makes navigating around Fusion 10 times easier. So you can use the trackpad, but if you try both, you'll quickly realize that one is a lot easier than the other. So if you have a trackpad, down here are going to be your movement tools. So you'll see, and I'll zoom in so you can see, down here at the bottom is going to be all your movement tools. So I'm just going to quickly show you what they all do. So we're looking at a Cartesian plane. It's color coordinated, right? So that red line is your x-axis. That green line is your y-axis. And then somewhere off in space, it's not showing it right now, is a blue line, and that's your z-axis. So if we select on orbit, you'll see your cursor changes. And we are now able to pan and kind of rotate around our origin. So for just about any tool, you'll notice if you push escape, it's going to get you out of it. So if you're in orbit and you're orbiting around your center and you want to get out of it, escape's going to do that for you. Simultaneously, if you happen to have a mouse, hold down shift, hold down middle mouse button. It does the same thing, but just a lot quicker. Also down here is zoom. So you can click on zoom, and zoom, well, zoom is pretty self-explanatory. As you zoom in and out with your trackpad, it's going to zoom you forward or outwards. Likewise with the mouse, you can just do that with the middle scroll wheel. The third tool, right? So the 3 you're going to use is going to be orbit, zoom. The last one's going to be pan. Pan is this hand. So if you make a really big part that takes up your whole screen, and you need to move across your screen, pan is going to allow you to grab and just move across your screen. Likewise, if you have a mouse, that is just your middle mouse button. So if you just click middle mouse button, that's going to be pan. But again, shift middle mouse button is going to be orbit. All right. Another thing, so up here in the top corner is the view cube. This is something that is super, super useful, and I think Fusion does really, really well. You can grab the cube with your mouse and kind of drag it around, and you'll notice that there's 6 sides, each with a different writing on it, right? That kind of corresponds to a different side of your model, right? So if you were going to draw a car, obviously there'd be a front side, there'd be a side, there'd be a back view, top view, bottom view. So this allows you to kind of orient your part really well and allows you to navigate a lot. So if at any time your view gets pretty messed up and you want to go to a pretty calm, neutral view that shows you everything, this house button is going to show you this view right here. It's going to put it in the corner. It's going to allow you to see the top, front, and side view. It's going to get you a good overview of everything that you're looking at. And you'll notice that as you kind of hover over the faces, it lights up. So if you want to get a specific type of view to work on a certain angle, you can snap on. So now I'm looking directly at the top and the front view. Now I'm looking just at the top view. Now I'm looking at the angle view. So you can mess around with it. So these are kind of the navigation tools for Fusion. They're going to help you get around. And you'll see as you kind of start building more complicated things, stuff kind of gets in your way, and you're going to need to find a way to navigate and find that. So we're going to do the first assignment, which is the toys, right, the little building blocks. If you notice in the assignment, right, so the way that we grade you is you take screenshots. Please take screenshots of the whole screen, right? That is how we can kind of normalize the grading. It allows it to make it easier for us, and it really eliminates all ways of cutting corners for you guys, so we can make sure that you're doing the stuff properly. So whenever you take a screenshot and submit your assignment, do the whole screen. What's it called? What's that? Just completely blanked out. So yeah, we're gonna start on the square. And so whenever you get that done, like I said, just screenshot the whole screen and you can put it in there. So by default, you should be under design. So if you click on design, there's a big drop down. Everything below design is pretty advanced. You can take a whole class about generative design. You can take a whole class about rendering. We're going to try to teach it to you pretty quickly. Animation's awesome, also very complex. Simulations, very complex. That's one of the milestone things being offered, right? That's GD or FEA. Manufacturing, also really complicated. If you want to export this to a CNC machine, you can actually code it here. So design, make sure you're in design. That's where we're going to get all our applications from. So you'll notice that on the top of your taskbar, right, there's different versions of the taskbar. Right, there's solid, surface, mesh, sheet metal, plastic, utilities. The main ones that we're going to be focusing on is solid. Right, solid's going to allow you to draw and create stuff. Utilities is a little bit more like analysis. So if you want to do like a sectional cut of something, or if you want to kind of color off bodies or color off the model by body so you can see what's separate, or if you want to measure stuff, you'll kind of, if you look at it a little bit, you might be able to get the hang of it and use some of the tools. Don't stress about them. We might use them later. But as for like an intermediate to advanced level, utilities and solids is probably going to be a good place to start. So to start off any model, right, how CAD works is you draw in 2D, right? You can only draw in 2D, and then you extrude into 3D. So you're going to create a sketch, and you're going to choose a two-dimensional plane. And you're going to draw on that two-dimensional plane a two-dimensional sketch with 0 thickness. You're then going to finish the sketch, and you're going to extrude that sketch into your missing direction. So if you draw on the XY plane, right, you draw a square on the XY plane, you can then extrude it into the Z plane to get a fully three-dimensional shape that is in X, Y, and Z. So for the first assignment, we're going to be making a square, like a cylinder prism, and like a bridge piece. So we're going to go to create sketch, and you'll notice your axes are going to pop up. Again, you are going to draw in a two-dimensional plane. That is where you are always going to start off. So for this case, it's solely off of preference, but I'm going to draw on the XY plane, right? I can tell this is the XY plane because of the colors, right? Red is going to be X, green is going to be Y, blue is going to be Z, and I can also tell by the view cube up top, right? The view cube tells me that I'm looking down at the top face, so I know that this right here is the bottom of, the plane, and I'm going upwards. So I created a sketch. I'm going to select the plane. And now my taskbar at the top changed because we're no longer in just editing. We're now in a sketch. So we're now editing in sketch mode. So the whole taskbar at the top changes. You'll notice all the way on the left side, this is what we're going to be messing with today. This is going to be your create tab. So your fundamental shapes of lines, circles, rectangles, squares, you are going to pull them from here. The 6 most common ones are at the top, right? So the first one's line, then you have a rectangle, circle, spline, which is kind of your more complex shapes. We'll get into them later. You have a mirror tool and a dimension. If you want to get more specific, you can click on this drop down right here under create, and you'll get a little bit more of the niche things, but you'll typically find that these 3 right here, line, 2-point rectangle, and center diameter circle, are going to give you just about everything you need to make most of your sketches. A cool thing about Fusion is it's very user-friendly. If you have a question about anything, if you hover your mouse over any of these icons and wait a little bit, a little splash page will pop up giving you information. It'll tell you what it's called, what the hotkey is. So if I push C, it'll hotkey to make a circle, and it also tells you what it does in pretty simple English. So if we get into some more advanced stuff, and maybe you're not too familiar with the terminology or what it does, you can hover your mouse over it, and it'll give you a bit of a description. So we're going to start off by making a rectangle, but I actually don't want to use this rectangle. I'm going to use one of the other types of rectangles. So you'll notice under create, right, rectangle and circle have different types of ways of drawing them, right? The default one at the top is a 2-point rectangle. You select your top left corner, you drag and select your bottom right corner, right? Just good practice. I want to center my part at the middle, so I'm going to use center rectangle right here. Oops. Center rectangle. So that is going to allow me to start from the middle, right? So the default 2-point rectangle makes you draw the perimeter. This one allows you to draw the center and you stretch outwards. So I have this one enabled, and I'm going to go to my center. And I don't know if you can tell from where you are. I'm going to see if it'll let me zoom in. But my cursor changes to a blue square. Fusion has very nifty ways of telling you where your cursor is by making it change. So if I move my cursor off a little bit, right, it's now a plus sign. But if I move into the circle, it snaps to a square. So that tells me that I'm perfectly on the middle. So if I click and drag out, I now have made, my first shape. I'm just going to drag out a little bit. Just going to click. And you'll notice my cursor is still the same symbol, right? It goes away when I zoom in. But if you notice on your screen, right, you have your cursor, you have that cross shape, and on the bottom right is that little rectangle. And that tells you that you're still making, if I was to click again, it would make another rectangle. So for example, but I don't want to do that. So if I'm still in this mode, I'm going to push escape, and now I'm back to a default cursor. I'm now free to do whatever I want. I'm going to dimension the square and give it some dimensions. I finally realized what I was trying to say earlier. So in the email I sent out earlier, we don't have a way of grading you on the correctness of your dimensions. So I'm going to make up some dimensions off the top of my head. If you want to do different ones, you're more than invited to. But just use dimensions that are going to mimic the form of the actual shape. So if we're making a pen, right, don't make the pen body like 20 feet. Make it maybe 4 or 5 inches, right? We can't grade you on dimensions, so we're trusting you to use your own. Replicate the dimensions that you feel give the best form to the shape. So at the top, we're going to go to sketch dimension, and we're going to dimension our square and start to give it some values. So I'm going to click on this top line. You'll notice that it changes to a dark blue, which means that I'm hovering over it. I'm going to click, drag up, and by default, I'm in inches. I'm not too sure if your system, is anyone's system in millimeters by chance? Is everyone's in millimeters? Okay. All right, one sec. Okay. So, yeah. So I thought the default was inches. Turns out not. So if you go to the top right, there is a gear that says document settings. If you click on the drop down menu, you have the option to change your units. You can keep it at millimeters if you want, but I'm going to be teaching the whole class in inches. So if you want to be streamlined with what I'm using, like I said, right up here on your screen, under document settings, is this little inches icon. You can click on the pencil, change it over to inches. That was my mistake. Okay, so I'm going to give this top dimension a dimension of 1 inch. And then I'm going to do the same thing for these side dimensions. I'm going to dimension these sides to also be 1 inch. And you'll notice, all right, I'm going to Control Z and go back a little bit. So notice what changes from here to when I Control Z twice. You'll notice the color of the square changes, right? So Fusion has a way of telling you if your sketches are constrained. So again, I know this is very slow and boring. We spent about 10 minutes just talking about a square, but this is what I've been talking about with the theory part of it. So this is an unconstrained square. Now, what does that mean? If I grab on this wall, it stretches. There's nothing constraining it to be a certain size. So I need to give it constraints or dimensions to have it locked in place so that it can only exist as that one type of shape, right? Right now, this is a square with, let's say, 2 by 2 sides, but I can drag it and make it 3 by 3. It's not rigid. It moves as I drag my cursor across it. So you'll see I'm going to dimension it again really quickly. I'm going to make it 1 inch by 1 inch. The square fully changes to black. So that's Fusion's notation. If the shape is blue or if the lines are blue, that means it's unconstrained. That means it is free to move around freely because there's nothing telling it to be in place. As soon as it turns black, that means it's frozen in place and it cannot move anywhere. So now you'll see we have a simple square, right at the origin, it's black. And that means that it's fully constrained. If I grab on any of the corners and try to drag out, it's not going to do anything. It's locked fully in place in space. So now I'm going to go to Finish Sketch. I'm going to exit out of that. And I'm going to make this note before we get any farther into the class. So let's say I want to change the dimension of this to 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, right? I don't like an inch by inch. I want to make it a little smaller. If you want to reopen a sketch, there's multiple ways to do it. You can go to this drop down over here where it says Sketches, and you can double click on the sketch and you can reopen it. So if you ever want to go back and fix up the stuff that you did in the past, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, on the bottom down here, I'll zoom in again, on the bottom, all the way down here to the bottom left of your corner is your timeline. So as you start to build kind of more monstrous parts, and I'll actually show you one of the ones of the projects that we did. Here's one of them. You'll notice as you start to build more and more, the bottom starts to grow. So this is the chronology of how it was made. It's all the steps that this person made to get this from nothing to something. And you can actually see it's really cool. If you push play, it shows you the steps that they took to make this whole figure. So again, that's two ways that you can go back and access your sketch again. So if you realize you made a mistake or you're unhappy and you want to go back and change it, that's two different methods to go back. Likewise, if you want to start naming stuff, right, it's a really good practice, right? Whenever you get to your final projects, you're going to be making really monstrous parts with probably 20, 30 sketches. Maybe you're going to have 5, 6 extrusions. If you right click on your sketch here, there's an option to rename. So if you want to give it a bit of a descriptor that tells you, a little bit about it, this is my base. So I can rename it base. So as I start to go along, right? So for now, I'm probably going to ignore it. And I know it's a bad practice. I'm a bit of a hypocrite. But as for as simple as a shape as this is, it's not necessary. But as you get into more complex stuff, it's really important. Because when you have 20 sketches, how do you know which one is the right one to open up? It just makes your life a lot easier. And again, that's the theory thing. As you start getting deeper into the convolutedness of CAD, having these good fundamentals of knowing and knowing the right things to do is going to help you out greatly. So we've gotten back to this point. We simply just have a 2-dimensional square with no thickness. You'll notice that since we left our sketch, our taskbar has gone back, right? It's gone back to the old one. The second option next to create sketch is extrude. So this is going to allow us to make this 2-dimensional sketch 3-dimensional. So if we click on extrude, because we only have one sketch, right, and it's the one that we just made, Fusion is going to infer that it wants to extrude the last one. So you'll notice that there's many different criteria over here on this right side. And this is what I said about Fusion being pretty intuitive. You can kind of read through these things and typically figure out what they mean. So profile is the thing that you're extruding outwards, right? So if I had 3, 4, 5 things on my screen and I only wanted to do 1 or 2 or 3, this is how I would choose. So let's say Fusion actually chose the wrong one, right? I would go select profiles and then select this. So by default, again, Fusion knows what you want. It's going to do it for you. But if you ever wanted to change and make an override, right, this profile is going to be how you select what you're extruding. So at the bottom, we're going to give it a distance because we want to extrude this. We're going to make it a cube. So we're going to give this a distance of 1. Push OK. So we selected the profile. We selected a distance. By default, it gave us a distance of +z. And then we gave it a value. So now we've made just a simple cube. So just for appearance-wise and just teaching you a couple more tricks, we're going to be giving this some color because we're going to be importing this into a file, and that's what you're going to be screenshotting. So if you go under the drop-down of bodies, you'll notice you'll have body 1 and simply only body 1. We've only made one thing. So if you right-click on body 1, again, here it is all over here on your left side of your screen. If you right-click on body 1, one of your options is going to be appearance. So this light gray color gets pretty dull when you start to put multiple pieces together because everything looks the same. The appearance button allows you to add some color to it and allows you to kind of distinguish between the parts. So Fusion has a built-in library of certain appearances. There's weighted downloads more. I will tell you I'm not too familiar with it, but there are ways to download more. So we're going to add an appearance from the default one. There's plenty to choose from. Under paint, I'm going to go to glossy, and then we're going to make it blue. So I'm going to drag from the color onto the shape, and we gave it an appearance. So we now have a blue colored cube. Now we're going to save this. So that's the end of this one. So this is the first part of the first assignment. We're going to go to save up at the top left. And obviously, name it whatever you want, but check your location, right? If you guys listened to what I said at the beginning, you should have made a new folder. I think it might have been switching. If you listen to what I said at the beginning, right, we made a new folder for you to store all your stuff. So make sure this location is that folder, so that way you can kind of combine and keep all of your stuff together in the same place. I'm not going to do that because I already have a version of this saved over here. But for you guys, you're gonna save this to your folder because we're gonna pull it out in a second, and we're gonna make kind of like a bigger master file. So now we're gonna make the circular piece, right? So we're gonna make a new file within Fusion. Over here on your top right is this plus sign that says new design. So if you click on new design, it's gonna open up a brand new blank template, and we're going to be making, again, I sent out a slides with just the 3 assignments. So if you want to see where I'm pulling this all off of, it's in the email. Right, I'm making another one of the basic toy pieces. Everything's going to start the exact same way. So we're going to make a new sketch. We're going to select our bottom plane. It does not really matter which one you do, but again, this is one of those kind of more complicated understandings of Fusion as you start working with assemblies, right? Assemblies is combining multiple small parts, right? So combining each part of the car into one master file to make the car in one file together. It's important to kind of ground your parts at the origin with their orientation following the view cue, right? It's just a really advanced topic that's going to kind of help you down the line as you start making more complicated stuff. That's how I was taught. It's kind of how I'm going to pass it down to you guys. It's just good practice. So now we're going to make the circle piece. So over here, I already made a new sketch. We're going to go to center diameter circle, select, and we're going to snap our cursor onto the origin. Again, you'll notice that you're snapped onto the origin when you have that cursor like change appearance. So we're going to click. We're going to drag out. I'm going to push escape to get out of circle mode. Again, you can see up here, if I were to click again, it's going to make another circle because the circle tool is highlighted. I don't want to make another circle. I want to dimension the one I just made. So I'm going to push escape, and I'm going to push dimension. And then I'm going to click on my circle. I'm going to give this a diameter of 1 inch. Right? I'm going to finish my sketch. I'm going to go back to this screen right here. Right? So all I have is a simple two-dimensional sketch. And I'm going to extrude it and give it some depth. So again, up here in the top left is the extrude button. It's going to auto-select the circle. I'm going to give it a value of 2 inches. Push OK. So now we have this little piece. Again, we're just kind of following through the steps that we just did with some different tools. We're going to give this one also appearance. So we're going to go to the drop down of bodies. I'm going to right click on body 1 and click on appearance. Just right here. Under appearance, you don't have to use the same ones that I'm using, but just make it a different color so we can make them all pop. So this one I'm going to make red. And then when you guys are done, we're just going to save it. Again, save it just the way that you did the other one, the same folder. Okay. Everyone good up to this point? This first one's really simple, so I'm kind of walking it through with you. From now on, after this assignment, I'm going to rip through the instruction right in front of you pretty quickly, and then we're just going to try to allocate maybe 15 to 20 minutes to walk around and help you guys personally. We understand that everyone's at like different skill levels and grasping stuff differently. So for this first assignment, we're kind of holding you by the hand, but for the next two, for today and for the rest of the class, I'm going to go at a pretty quick speed up here just to show you the steps. Just watch, and then you can replicate it. If you have any questions, we'll come around and help you. So we're going to make the last one of this assignment. We're going to make the bridge piece. So I'm going to create sketch. Just like all the other ones, I'm going to select my bottom plane. All right, I'm going to make a rectangle this time. So I'm going to go to the drop down under create. I'm going to go to rectangle. I'm going to go to center rectangle. I'm going to click on my origin, and I'm going to click and drag out. Now, it's important to make it look like a rectangle, right? Because all rectangles are squares, but not all squares are rectangles. So if you make it pretty close to a square, it's going to think it's a square, and it's going to add a constraint that's going to make all sides equal. So try to drag out and make it look like a rectangle, so that way it overrides that constraint. So if that happens to you, if you're noticing that you're trying to dimension it and everything's kind of symmetric to each other, they're all locked on, that's probably what happened. So we're going to dimension this really quickly. We're going to make our height 1 inch. We're going to make our length 2 inches. And this is going to be our bridge piece. So I'm going to change over from the sketch dimension over to the center diameter circle. And I'm going to go set my cursor on the middle, but I'm not going to click. Now you'll notice that once I have my cursor, I'm going to drag down. And you'll notice that following my cursor is this dotted blue line, right? So my cursor is snapped on to be parallel with, or in line, my bad, collinear with the middle point. So if I snap onto the middle and then drag down pretty carefully, it'll keep my cursor in line with the middle. So I want to drag down, oops, I want to drag down and lock on to the bottom of this rectangle. Click, and I'm going to drag out. I'm going to give this a dimension of 1.5. And I'm going to remove some of the excess material, right? This shape right here that I kind of have highlighted, this is what I want. I don't really want any of the remaining parts, so I'm going to cut it out. Under Modify, right here, is the Trim tool, and we're going to use that to cut away the parts that I don't want. So I'm going to go Trim, and I'm going to cut this part, and I'm going to cut this part. And so now I'm just left with this, which is just the bridge piece. I can now go to Finish Sketch, and I can extrude this 1 inch. Now here's where the home piece kind of comes into play. If I click on the home piece, it's going to show me the side view of the bridge. So I now have this piece really quickly. I'm just going to give it an appearance. This one I'm going to make yellow. Okay, so you should now have had 3 of these made. So we're going to quickly throw them into an assembly so you guys can screenshot this. And we're just going to kind of show you a bit of a preface of how this is going to work. So we're going to make a new file. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to name it. So I'm going to name this Assignment 1 Assembly. I'm going to save. So the reason it was important to name all your parts and have them saved properly is we're going to open up our data panel on our top left. I'm going to open it up. And you'll see I have my 3 pieces all right here. So I'm going to do the cube first. Click. I'm going to drag it into my file. This is only going to work if your file has already been pre-saved. It has to be pre-saved. I'm going to drag it in. So it's just going to push OK. And now I'm going to drag in this other piece. I'm going to use my arrows, right? We're going to get a lot more into the technical aspect of assemblies, but I'm going to use my arrows just to drag it out a little bit. Oops. I'm going to use my arrows to just drag it out a little bit, just so the picture looks nice when I take it. And then I'm going to drag the bridge piece in. And likewise, I'm just going to use the arrows to drag it out a little bit. Okay? So this right here, if you take a screenshot of this whole screen, this right here is the first assignment of the day. Are there any pressing questions over just what we covered so far? We're going to go pretty quickly to try to knock out these next 2 before the time and answer some questions before that though. You turned it, you made it invisible. You have to design it. That's why I say you have to have it in mind how you design it. Yeah, there would be ways, within an alt file yeah, so if you were gonna put this in another file, which like you wanted to build a tower and put it into another file, you would use the move tool instead. So within this file, it's locked in this one. If you import it into another file, it's going to make a new file. Save it. Yeah, this is all that happens.
So how this works is it takes each component and it says it should be the color. So let's say I make a new
just stay for now and just take a picture of the screen. You just click on the lines. You'll notice the lines turn up. The line that you're going to cut turns pink. No. Control E. Cut that. So. The middle sketch. Finish sketch.
Okay. Okay, we're running a little bit low on time, so I am going to quickly run through these next two at like a pretty quick, at a faster speed, and then the remainder of the class. And I can even stay a little bit later because we get out of here at 7:30. I can stay for maybe 7:45 or 8 if needed. You guys can just raise your hand and I'll come over and help you personally because this is really something that you kind of learn at your own pace with your own understanding. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do the assignments just so you can kind of understand my thought process, and then you can redo them at your own pace. So just sit and watch, look at the steps that I take, and then again, I'm going to give you the remainder of class to copy and replicate them. Worst case scenario, if you're completely lost, we're only really doing this because we're running low on time. A video of this class is being uploaded, so you can just go and find this part right now in the video and just play it back over and over again and just kind of see the steps that I'm taking. So we're going to make a hammer. So I'm going to start with the sketch, and I want to make the handle of the hammer first. So I'm going to start on my bottom, and again, I just encourage you just to watch and see the steps. And I'm going to make this circle, which is going to replicate the handle of my hammer. So I'm going to give it a dimension of, let's say, 2, and then I'm going to extrude it upwards about 10 inches. Right? We're just going to see how this looks. All right, looks pretty good. So I'm going to push OK. So now I'm going to make the actual head of the hammer. So I'm going to make a new sketch. And we haven't done this before, but you can make a sketch on any plane or existing face. So this up here is an existing face, right? It is a flat plane on top of the cylinder. So I'm going to make my sketch be on this plane right here. So I'm going to click. And now I'm going to make the hammerhead. So I'm going to go to create, a rectangle, center rectangle, and then I'm just going to give it a few dimensions, try to replicate the form of it. So we're going to give this 3.5. We'll give this 7. And then I'm going to extrude it upwards. So you'll notice that Fusion didn't really know what to select because there's two bodies. There's this one and there's this one, right? So this first button right here, profiles, is how you select what you want to extrude. So I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to extrude this up about 3 inches. And then I'm going to fill it off all the corners just to make it smooth and round. So right here, this tool, fill it. This is for manufacturing purposes, right? Like if you make a table, you don't want to have it have super sharp corners. So fill it just rounds off your corners. So I'm going to click fill it, and I'm just going to use my movement tools, and I'm going to go around and I'm going to select all of these separate lines of the hammer. I added a value of 1/2 inch, push OK. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make another sketch. Again, any face is fair game. That is technically a plane. So I'm going to make a sketch on the top of the hammerhead. I'm going to make a circle starting at the middle. I'm going to pull out. My last dimension was 2, right? That's what I made the bottom part of the handle. So I'm going to make this one likewise. Finish sketch. And then I'm going to extrude it up just a little bit. And that right there is the entirety of the second assignment. All right, so this third one, again, I'm going to go through it really, really quickly, but there are 30 minutes left in class, so I can go over it again, or help you personally at your table if you need help. We're going to be making a pen, but with kind of a trick to do it a lot easier than would be just making cylinders. So we're going to go on the front, my front plane, and I'm going to create a sketch. So I'm going to create a 2-point rectangle here at my origin, just like that. And I'm going to give it some dimensions. So I'm going to say 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch. All right. So that's going to be the clicker of my pen. So I'm now going to make the body of my pen. So I'm going to click on this bottom corner. I'm going to pull out. And I'm going to give it some more dimensions. So for this, I'm going to give it a length of 5, and I'll give it a height of 0.4. All right. And then really quickly, I'm going to make the tip of the pen. So I'm going to click up here. I'm going to drag down. And then I'm going to complete off my shape. Okay. My bad. Okay. So I now have what may not look like a pen, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this simple shape, I'm going to revolve it around the origin, and you're going to see it's going to make a pen form. So if I push Finish Sketch, this tool up here right next to the extrusion is Revolve. So if I click on Revolve and I select these 3 profiles, over here on Origin, you'll notice if anything ever goes invisible, this eye icon probably has something to do with it. So I'm going to turn my origins on so that way I can see. I'm going to change my option over here from profile to axis, and you'll notice it's going to revolve around the middle. It's going to make a pen. That's the entire 3rd assignment. I know I ripped through both of those in like 5 minutes, but that's just because I want to give the remainder of the class for you guys to kind of walk through it at your own pace. Again, one of the main complaints or forms of criticism that we received from the last class was kind of like the lack of independence to work at your own pace. So if you are pretty unexperienced, right, we want to allocate more time to help you personally. If you're pretty experienced in Fusion, we want to give you the total freedom to work at your own speed and kind of rip through it. So if you're ready, if you need to go, you're more than welcome to go. We walked you through the first assignment by hand. If you did all the steps, you should be good to turn it in. I quickly showed you how to do assignment 2 and 3. I'm going to turn off the mic and just walk around class for the next 30, 40 minutes. If you need help, again, you can reach out to me or Jordan here, or if you want to go back, we're recording the videos and send it out so you can watch what I just did right in front of you in about 2 or 3 minutes at a slower speed. You can watch it over again to really understand what's going on. But that's all that we have for today. I know it went kind of fast. Downloading, you really didn't expect for that to take that long. So a little bit pressure, but we'll slow down the speed a little bit for next time.
I already did the turns and
Yeah.
everything, so it's all good.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks.
So it's either a problem with this or it's a problem with the bridge. So we need to figure out what this is. We'll just show it. Save it. So whenever you there you go. Thank you. But yeah. I'm gonna post it to YouTube. 2 hours long. I should cancel it. So we'll send it a YouTube link because it's a really long video. Okay. Yep.